Hello and greetings from Velichka in Krakow once again. It's a quite gloomy Friday afternoon at the moment. Warmish, pleasant-ish, but overcast and gloomy. So there we go. Suits the black mug perfectly. Anyway, the reason I'm here this time is to talk about the very latest CD release on Fourth Dimension Records, namely the new Kleistwahr album, For the Lives Once Lived. I'll get on to that in a minute, because before that, maybe you can hear some of this music in the background by, I guess it's pronounced Pimpono, 2 I 4, so 2 and 4. This is a Polish duo who draw very heavily from jazz and the worlds of improvisation, etc. Although at the same time, I can hear nods to klezmer music in this, and kind of folkish embellishments to the melodies. So it's not overly wild, but at the same time, there is tension there and restraint as well, you know. So there's a good dynamic to this music. It's really, really nice. I was handed this on Saturday along with a couple of other releases by a guy called Maciek from Instant Classic. This is a label that operates from Krakow, and similar to Fourth Dimension, it just releases whatever the hell it wants. Maciek co-runs the label with a friend of his, and they release all kinds of stuff: post-rock, electronica, other forms of electronic music, and stuff like this as well, you know, as well as other things, you know. So whatever the hell they want. This is really nice. It's been pretty much stuck in my CD player for the last 2 days, although I've detoured and played a couple of other things once or twice in the last day or so as well. I keep coming back to this. Pimpono, 2 I 4, and the album's title, Past and Future Don't Exist, and Now is the Rhythm. And yeah, it's just CD only, looks really good, sounds really nice, and I need to review it at some point. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give Instant Classic a shout out for having done it yet again. You know, they've done many releases that I really, really like, really enjoy, and this is amongst them. They also Maciek handed me a couple of other releases on last Saturday afternoon. A new album by Rafał Roginski, and I think an LP by a group called Dynasonic, if I remember correctly. I haven't got to the latter yet, but the Roginski album is absolutely mind-blowing as well, but very different music to the one I'm playing at the moment. The one I'm playing at the moment as well, this Pimpono 2 I 4, it reminds me somewhat of this guy's works. These are 2 albums that I pulled. Boris Kovacs is the name, and he is somebody who I've got a couple of vinyl albums as well, but he's somebody whose work I explored probably about 20 years ago, and also plays this very tense jazz inflected folkish music that draws, in his case, heavily from the Balkans, you know, and, traditional Balkan music. Really nice. I love this stuff. So when people, as they sometimes do, say, you know, and I guess I don't help myself by looking the way I do, but when they say, "Oh, you're you know, an old punk or an industrial guy or whatever," you know, I'm as I very often refute it and say, "Well, you know, I'm listening to Herbie Hancock or whatever as much as anything else, and I listen to stuff like this and the stuff that's playing at the moment." So, as much as punk, post-punk, some post-industrial, post-industrial or early industrial music is part of my background. You know, my taste went in all kinds of different directions. Although my labels tend to focus on more specialised areas of music, you know. Having said that, you know, I wouldn't be averse to putting out some free jazz or whatever on Fourth Dimension. So who knows? But anyway, yeah, there's more to me than just punk, post-punk, industrial. Not, you know, I have my moments, but not always playing that kind of music, you know. So there we are. But yeah, I recommend this guy's works as well. You know, I haven't followed anything he's done for a number of years now, but I pulled these out thinking, yeah, Pimpono Devati Shteri reminds me somewhat of, or their music reminds me somewhat of this guy's work, and yeah, and I'm going to revisit those at some point. Anyway, the main reason I'm here is to talk about this, the very latest CD by Gary Mundy of Ramley and Breathless. Somebody actually wrote to me last week or the week before and said he couldn't believe that Gary Mundy, the man behind Kleistwahr and Ramley, was the same guy who plays guitar in Breathless. If you're not aware or familiar with Breathless's work, it's very, very different to whatever Gary does with Ramley and Kleistwahr, or in any other capacity. Come to that, because you know he's done a couple of other things. I released an album, was it beginning of last year, where he collaborated with Geraldo Bernocchi, Broken Masses. I've still got a couple of those here as well. Really, really good music. But Gary's own work, his solo work and his work with Ramley is nothing like the work with Breathless, which I think comes from that more early 4AD school of things, you know. It would have fitted in really well there. Early Cocteau Twins, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, anyway, that's probably the best reference, early Cocteau Twins. But anyway, yeah, so Gary Mundy, you know, also works with Breathless. So there we go. And yes, some guy wrote to me 2 weeks ago and seemed completely surprised by this. Yeah, people in music can have different areas of interest. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah, this arrived. Today's Friday. This arrived on Wednesday, late morning, midday-ish, and it was too late for my post office run that day. I managed to get out early morning on Wednesday for my daily post office run, and they are pretty much daily, you know, during the week, because the nearest one to me is not open on Saturday. Otherwise, I'd be going then as well. So I sent out the first batch of orders yesterday, and have I got that wrong? Did these arrive yesterday? They may have arrived yesterday actually, and I think I sent out the first batch today. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm in the process of sending these out. It's the latest album, For the Lives Once Lived. 6 tracks. I think at least two have got rhythms on. So a little different to the last album. Although, again, there's kind of organ, the influence of the church organ and drone music, and, of course, Gary's own background as a kind of sculptor of noise, if you like. Somebody who came from a power electronics background. I would still say there are traces of that music or that background in all of Gary's solo works anyway. There's all, even if it's not that obvious and it's just there in the intensity of some of the music, or the layers of sound, because Kleistwahr were always more, maybe not always, but quite often more about these layers of sound. Not like early Whitehouse, which was kind of sort of stripped back, really. Very early Whitehouse, very rudimentary and still, tense and full of intensity, but quite different to what Kleistwahr or even early Ramley were doing. So this is really good. Once again, features a Chris Lowe photograph on the front. Very nice. So a nice little statuette there that I think Chris found strewn in some trash somewhere in Japan on one of his visits there to probably see his daughter. And that's what it looks like inside. Great Puppy 38 layout design, again based on the old so I nearly knocked over my cup of tea then. So PG tips just about to go everywhere. I'm almost out of Yorkshire tea, so I'm down to, you can find PG tips here in Poland, so I'm it's still stronger than Polish tea. So it's the next best thing. Anyway, nearly knocked it over. So, professional as ever. Yeah, what did I want to say? Yeah, Puppy 38 did a great job with representing the broken flag presentation that Gary always wants, and I think aesthetically looks wonderful. Probably ruined somewhat by this barcode. It's really that's really standing out for me at the moment. I know many people hate barcodes and refuse to use them. Unfortunately, my distributor, Cargo Records, always insist on them, and always have done, and I believe I should be thankful to Cargo very much for always doing a good job with trying to get my releases to places that I would never be able to get to myself. They do worldwide distribution, and as much as I've got a couple of mail orders that help as well, Cold Spring in England, Sound Dome in Italy, a few others, Scream and Writhe in Canada, although they didn't want this for some reason. I think they said they couldn't sell anything. Don't know why. This fucking pisses on most such music. Gary Mundy is one of the fucking masters of this music. So, I don't know. Anyway, I know it's a very different, maybe, music to some of the so-called noise that perhaps Scream and Writhe specialise in, that kind of more junk noise, trash noise, the more American style, or the American approach to noise making, noise music, or even the Japanese way of doing things. This is very. There's always a sense of refinement to Gary's work, and maybe that's something that can be levelled at a few other such artists from the UK as well. So certainly as they, you know, got older and, you know, kept doing what they're doing, yeah, maybe there's a different sensibility at work there. But anyway, I still think this is clearly, you know, genius work, produced, created by somebody who's at the top of his game. And yeah, it's brilliant. If you're interested in this, of course, you can find a link to it in the shop. As I said, I think these only arrived Wednesday or yesterday. I really can't remember. It's a bit fuzzy this week, not because of any weird reasons, but simply because my family got a dog on Saturday last week. It's been absolutely chaotic here this week. I don't even know where time's gone, you know. So I really can't remember if these arrived yesterday or the day before. But anyway, I have sent out many of these so far. I think I'm into my second box already. I've just packed up many more, and I've still got lots more pre-orders and many more orders from people who took out the 7 CD deal, which is what I wanted to talk about. You don't have to just buy this on its own if you're interested. You can take it out as part of the 7 CD deal. I've raised the price by £5, £35 plus £8 shipping for 7 new CDs from Fourth Dimension and related labels. And you can include the JFK CD that I released a month and a half ago. You can include the Ashtray Navigation CD, one from Then Another, that came out in May, I think. And you can even look at other recent releases that I've done, Sinestra and other titles. But ultimately, by taking out the 7 CD deal, you will get the next, depending on where you start the deal from and how many CDs you want at the beginning of the deal, you know, maybe 2 or 3 titles, you'll then get the next, the balance will be sent in the form of my next releases. And the next one will be Mummies and Madmen, Alan Ryder's project from the 80s, a reissue that's been hanging around forever. But that will be the next CD release that I do. I don't know what will happen after that, but there are always things afoot, always things bubbling in the background. So, you know, as much as I complain about never resting properly and whatever, I don't really do myself any favours by not thinking about what I'm going to do next, you know. And maybe, yeah, so if you're interested in that, it's available now and copies are going fast. 100 are going out to cargo next week, so they'll probably release it themselves in 2 or 3 weeks' time. In the meantime, I'll just proceed with getting copies out. I think that's going to go pretty fast, actually. Common Values, the last CD, went pretty well. I think I've got 6 copies left. Or yeah, something like that. So, and there are a few other old Kleistwahr titles that I've got as well, but they're in a. I've included those in a really big CD deal, which is also in the shop. If you're interested in that, just write. If you want to, you know, get the latest. I always say this: if you're interested in, you know, well, maybe the 15 CD deal is a separate thing, but generally, I'm pretty approachable, and you know, if you wanted this and the 15 CD deal, for example, just write to me. I'll give a good price. It's always about the music, and of course I can't lie. You know, I need cash flow. You know, I need money to pay the bills for these things. So, but they're the main reasons, you know, for doing it. Music and my main reason for doing this is to try and generate interest and some orders to just keep things moving. Anyway, I don't know why I keep brandishing this, but there we are. Lastly, I realise I'm rambling as usual, but lastly, the very last of the ATV or Mark Perry book backlog will be attended to during the early part of next week. I have sent out all the orders I possibly can in the last few weeks, the last month and a half even. I've been going to the post office daily with a huge pile of these packages of books. I've had to deal with lots of people writing to me in the last week or so, wondering where their book is. But all of the books have gone, apart from a mere handful that Cargo will deal with next week. So Cargo are going to be handling the ATV book, the Mark Perry book, from next week completely. They are going to, every order I get will be from next week will be pushed into Cargo's direction. I'll keep the links in the shop. Maybe I'm still good for, I've still got a number of books here, so maybe I'll still deal with some European orders, mainland Europe. But ultimately, Cargo are going to be handling everything. They're distributing the book from next week. They even said that maybe they can get the book in some really good bookshops in the UK. And of course, they're handling worldwide distribution. So these books will be available from far more stockists in the quite near future. And in the meantime, yes, I've pretty much got through the backlog of orders, and I'm really sorry to everybody who had to wait a little longer than usual. I can only send so many books each day. It's only me, and it's my back, so I need to be careful. I think I sent 3 books out today. I think they were the last, and I've received 1 or 2 more orders for the book in the last 24 hours. So they will go. Those new orders will go on Monday. But again, Cargo are there for all mail order requirements as of next week. So I'll include a link to the book through Cargo below as well. And thank you everybody who's been really patient, just waiting quietly for their book to arrive. I've stipulated this time and time again. I'm completely bona fide. I'm honest. I write back to people. I had a couple of people even write to me saying, I sent you an email, a few weeks ago and didn't receive a reply. Well, then it transpired that the email didn't reach me for whatever reason. I reply to everybody. I even write back to people that send me unsolicited demos. And, thanks, but no thanks. I don't generally, it might sound a bit conceited or arrogant, but I'm quite well connected, so I generally know who I want to release records or CDs by. I already have people in my field of vision, so I don't advertise that I look for demos. But I even that's straying from the main point. I even write back to people that send me unsolicited demos. I even listen to them from time to time. So, really surprised. Really want to work with anybody because of a demo that's been sent to me. I think most people should give up on music. So there we are. Stop flooding everything. Get a proper job. So there we are. That's what we used to shout out at gigs. you know, back in the early 80s, friends of mine and myself would sometimes shout out to whoever we were seeing, if like some dodgy support group or whatever, like, don't give up your day job, um, it's pretty cruel, isn't it? But but it's not the worst thing, is it? So anyway, on that note, I've rambled. Typically, thought I'd keep this for to about 15 minutes this time. Clearly failed. We're up to 25, 26 minutes once again, and I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back soon, hopefully yammering about the arrival of the new ATV LP direct action, which I think will come here next week. I thought it would have arrived by now, but it hasn't. So we will see. In the meantime, back to my cold PG tips. Thanks. Bye bye.